Hello, everybody. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, depending on where you are in this amazing world. My name is Donovan Jolly, and welcome everybody once again for another amazing video of DIY investing. After the breakout, Bitcoin has kind of started to settle down a little bit, and it's starting to sell off just slightly. This is a perfect opportunity for us to dive into the charts, analyze if this is a good time to be buying the dip, and if so, when are we going to be expecting to see more upside shortly after? I got a bunch of cool charts to share with you guys. I got a really cool chart that I'm going to share with you guys. It's going to perfectly explain the long-term trend of Bitcoin, and it's going to perfectly map out exactly where we're going to top out at the end of this cycle so that you guys perfectly know how to scale out and take profits. We're also going to look into the Bitcoin dominance as well as a couple other charts that are going to accurately map out exactly what I'm thinking over the next couple months for Bitcoin's price action. If you're new and just finding this channel, always remember to do me a favor by leaving a like, comment, and subscribing to this channel for more updates. Make sure that you guys click that notification bell so you don't miss out on any new videos like the one provided for you here. And always remember, guys, to join the fastest growing Discord community in crypto. My Discord server has over 17,000 members and it's growing so fast. All you guys got to do to join is to click inside the description of this video, and there you're going to find the invitation link to my Discord server. Now on the Discord server, I also offer my exclusive content like the video course and Signal. So if you're somebody that wants to copy my portfolio along with every single trade that I take, or you want to get access to some of those private videos, make sure you stay all the way to the end of this video, because then I'm going to be taking a couple minutes to explain how you guys can get signed up, the pros of doing so, and what it's going to take to get you guys going today. One final thought, guys, is to make sure to download my free ebook. Once again, links are provided for you in the description. This ebook is 38 pages long, full of exciting information that's going to give you guys the ins and outs to trading and investing, specifically with my portfolio. And then it's going to teach you guys a bunch of basics so that you guys can be on the right path of profiting with me. I've spent a ton of time on it, tons of information that's really going to help teach you guys a lot of the stuff that I wish I would have had when I first got in the market. So make sure you guys click in the description. Links are provided for you below. And with all that being said, guys, let's jump right into this amazing video today. Alrighty, guys, so here we are taking a look at Bitcoin on the 3-day time frame. I wanted to go over and just talk about some basic principles to map out the cycle and really share with you guys where we're at. Now, what I've kind of been updating you guys with is I've recently just started updating that this was a support and resistance flip, and this is really what we were watching out for throughout all this time. You know, we had this resistance for months and months and months. We flipped that resistance as support, and that's really why we got such a strong buyback. Now, this is also coming after the breakout of this long-term symmetrical triangle, and so this is a 3-year symmetrical triangle approximately, and we broke out from this, and we also broke out of our major horizontal resistance as well. And so this was a major support and resistance flip of not only a downtrend inside of the symmetrical triangle, but it was also the breakout of this horizontal resistance that we'd had for so long. And so that's really why we're starting to see the buyback ensue so strongly. We had Twitter announce that they were going to be putting 50% of their cash reserves, as far as Square goes, their parent company, into Bitcoin. And so that was about a $50 million pump that we saw right in here. And so this is very encouraging signs. We're seeing PayPal adoption starting to take place. And so this is a very good sign. Now, what we can see on the shorter time frames is that we are starting to cool off a little bit. We are getting a little bit of a sell-off here, but overall this is really a good sign. You know, we've had this resistance here, we also had this resistance here, and we've broken from both of those, and we haven't really retested either of those. And so that's what I think that this move is, to be honest. I don't really think that there's a big reason to get too shaken out. I just view this as a retest before ultimately we go up much higher. And so the next two logical horizontal support levels to watch out for are going to be about 12,500 all the way down to about 12,100. And that's really the best place to look for accumulation during this initial sell-off. That's what I'm going to personally be watching out for, is just one more sell-off. It's going to take us back down to retest these levels before ultimately we go much higher. I already personally believe that we are going to be at the part of the cycle where we really start to go up much higher quick. And I think that if you weren't ready beforehand, this is the part of the cycle where we are going parabolic. And if you weren't ready, you know, now there's a chance where you kind of miss out. A lot of people are going to be ready to FOMO buy, especially during this next leg up when Bitcoin starts to really rally. And honestly, guys, I don't really see another resistance level until about up here at about 17K. That's really the next resistance level that I see. You know, I don't really think that there's too much standing between us and 17,000, and I do believe that we're going to get this buyback happen very soon. You know, a lot of people are kind of drawing out this 14K as a resistance level, but to be quite honest, guys, because we didn't hit this level right off the bat and because we're selling off to retest this high, I think it's much more likely that this 14K isn't going to provide too much resistance before ultimately we go much higher. And so that's what I'm going to be watching out for inside of Bitcoin today. You know, we're just getting that retest of the previous breakout point before ultimately going up much higher. The next two targets are going to be 14K to 17K, and those are really the only targets that I see. You know, the last line of defense after that's going to be about 19K, or roughly the all-time high of that move. And so, guys, the resistance levels are starting to thin out. As we continue to make higher highs, expect these resistance levels to really not provide too much resistance as we continue to break up higher and go to all-time highs. Because for me personally, what I've been updating you guys with on this channel and what I've personally been following my personal trading plan is that we are going to be at or around $20,000 to close out the year. And so the way that I'm personally trading from here on out, dips are for buying. Any type of dips that we get, I'm going to be buying with whatever cash that I have. And I'm going to be looking to hold long term because ultimately I think that we're going to close out the year pretty close to that $20,000 mark. And so any Bitcoin that I can scoop up for, you know, 13K and below is a really good opportunity because we're going to be planning to see Bitcoin at 20,000. And so this is the part of the cycle where if you haven't really got any loose ties bound up yet, you have, you know, Bitcoin, or you have cash waiting on the sidelines ready to buy Bitcoin, you're not going to have too much more of an opportunity to do so before we start to get too expensive. Because guys, you know, Bitcoin's worth 13,000 right now. It's not going to be long before we're sitting at, you know, multi digits again. We're sitting at about a $20,000. It won't be long before we're sitting at about a $17,000 to a $20,000 Bitcoin, which is just simply going to be too expensive for the average person to buy. And on top of that, you really don't want to be buying Bitcoin super high up here because that's when altcoins are going to be outperforming. And so I've just gone through, shared with you guys some thoughts and perspectives. Really, if you're waiting to buy the dip, I think the dip that we're getting right now is a perfect one because this is just going to be continuation before we go up much higher from here. Expect a lot more explosive markets, and I'm going to update you guys about Tuesday or Wednesday with how this actually plays out. Now, let's actually dive into the most important part of this. Now, quickly, I wanted to give a shout out to Russian Bear because he's actually the reason I came up with this chart to share with you guys, and it's this chart over here. Now, I've gone through and actually drawn it for you guys so that we can go through and break it down because I think that my chart's going to be a little bit easier to understand than his. But shout out to Russian Bear. Make sure you guys go give him a follow because he's actually pointed out an amazing correlation here between the Bitcoin halvings and the cycle lows and the cycle highs of each one. And so we've gone through here and I've really labeled it from the first time we've had halvings because this only incorporates the amount of times we've had a halving. And a Bitcoin halving, for you guys that maybe do not understand, a Bitcoin halving happens every 4 years. We've had 3 thus far, with the most recent one being May of just this last year. And basically, every 4 years, the amount of new Bitcoins that are added to the supply gets cut in half, or the mining reward gets cut in half. And so the amount of new Bitcoins that are added to that supply gets cut in half, and this happens every 4 years. And this is a very correlated event that seems to be correlated with the amount of expansion that we see on the upside after the halvings, because we can see that we had the first halving back here about mid-November 2012, and then we can see this, we got this massive skyrocketing in value of Bitcoin. Then we can see that we get our second halving over here in 2016, about July. And then after that, we get another massive price swing on the upside. And we can see that we just recently got our first halving, or our third halving, I should say. And our third halving came at about May. And so we've only had a little bit of price action after this halving. But based off of all the other ones, whenever we have one of these, it really skyrockets the value of Bitcoin. And this is really what we've been expecting to see play out again. Now, what I can share with you guys now is the fact that every single low to the Bitcoin halving, so right here, the bottom of the cycle until we get to the Bitcoin halving is the same amount of time as we get to the Bitcoin halving to the next cycle top. So that might be a tongue twister. From the bottom of each cycle to the halving equals the same amount of time from the halving to the cycle top. And so we can see that the cycle bottom happens here at about the 14th of November 2011. And then if we drag our time frame tool all the way until the next halving, this happens about November 2012, that's about 378 days worth of time. So it was about a year exactly from the cycle low to the cycle halving, right? And now if we take this equation, the cycle halving to the next cycle top should be about the same amount of time. And that's exactly what we see here, about 371 days. So almost the exact amount of time, just a week off, we can see that from the halving to the cycle top equals almost the exact same time from the cycle low to the halving. And so this is a way that we can actually break out these cycles so that we can project exactly when the next cycle top is. So let's actually take the same pattern and let's play it out to the next cycle. So we get our cycle low here at about January of 2015. If we go all the way over until the next halving, that takes us 546 days approximately. And so then we're going to take the same tool. From the halving, we're now going to go 546 days, 526 days approximately, to the cycle top. And that takes us to about here. So this one's about 20 days off approximately, but we still get pretty much the exact same correlation here. From the cycle low to the halving equals the same time from the halving to the cycle high. And this is about 20 days off. But guys, this is insane. How crazy is it that each cycle halving, from the low to the halving to the halving to the high, is almost the exact same period of time? And so that just shows you guys how correlated in these halvings actually are to the price of Bitcoin. Every time we have one of these halvings, the price explodes. And this has happened 3 different times. Well, we're getting ready for that 3rd time, in which I expect it to once again play out just the same. And so we can see that this is played out identically. You know, we're getting pretty much the same period of time between cycle low to the halvening, from the halvening to the cycle high, and now we're in for our 3rd cycle. And so let's see where this maps out Bitcoin's price to be, you know, based off of this same correlation here. And so we topped out in 2018. We made that bear market bottom, and at the bottom, we label our next point. So this is our low that we saw at about the 1st of December of 2018. And so we take this drawing point and we label it all the way to the next halving. So the next halving happens about May 11th, which is 518 days past the cycle low. And so this is showing that we have about 518 days that we should see worth of bull run past this halving. So the halving is May 11th. We draw our next data point here, and we draw 518 days in advance. So that takes us to a topping point, or a cycle high, of 2021 at about October 11th. And so this is kind of perfectly correlating exactly why I shared with you guys that 2021 was going to be the year of the bull run. This is perfectly mapping out those cycles. Now, this isn't even taking into consideration the fact that each Bitcoin cycle tops out at about the 1st of December to the new year. We can see that that happened right here, about December. We topped out. The same thing happened here. About December, we topped out. And so this is showing that we're going to top out in October, but I personally believe that we're going to get a little bit of an extension, and we're going to top out closer towards the winter. And so this is really cool that we're seeing this type of correlation between the cycles. And it's really cool that we're actually seeing this type of correlation playing out through the halvings, because it's amazing that we can break this down, guys. The same distance from the cycle low to the halving is the same distance as the halving to the cycle high. It's just inverted. You know, we're going down in one trend, then we hit the low. That low point to the halving equals a certain distance. And if you take that exact same distance and measure that from the halving to the cycle top, it's always about the same. And so this is showing that we're going to be topping out here in about October of 2021. And so let's actually draw over this real quick and share with you guys kind of what I think is going to play out here from this point on, because I expect that we're going to see something along the lines of this. You know, pretty much just the next big cycle in this move. And that's really the way that I'm personally going to be looking to scale out. Now, if you look at this, this shows that we're going to top out, but I personally believe that we're going to get one more extension before we top out. We're going to top out closer to about, 1st of December, early January of next year. And that's really the way that I'm going to be looking to trade this market. And we can see that this is pretty much just lining up to be the same as all the last cycles. And this is actually a big point that I wanted to make. For the people that believe that the cycles are actually lengthening, there isn't that much data backing up that statement. And in fact, when we see charts like this, when we can break down the halvings and we can see exactly the same type of time frames, so we can see that the first half of the halving is about the same as the last half of the halving, and this is the way that it's played out every single time up to this point. I expect that it's going to play out again. And so the people that are on the fence about believing that the cycles are lengthening, or if they're staying the same, this is very much showing that the cycles aren't lengthening in the slightest. In fact, Bitcoin, in the last cycle, we bottomed, and from the bottoming point all the way to the next halving was 546 days. And we can see that from the bottoming point in this cycle to the halving is only 518 days. And so if anything, this cycle might be a little bit shorter than the last one. And so this is the most important thing to understand here, guys, is there really isn't a lot of substance backing the whole idea that the cycles are lengthening. People have their 2022, 2023 and beyond price targets. And to be quite honest, I think that that's just going to be silly. And these people are going to look real silly by the end of the next cycle when we're topping out late 2021, because these people aren't going to have a solid plan. They're going to be looking to scale out after the cycle's already topped out, and they're missing all their profits at that point. And so for me, I'm going to be looking to scale out late 2021. That's just the simplest way to go about trading in this market. And it's really amazing to see how many times and how much data multiples that we can plug into this chart that are expressing the same belief. The same belief that's being expressed is constantly that we're going to be topping out late 2021. In fact, there really isn't a lot of substance backing the whole idea that the cycles are lengthening in the slightest. And that's really wanted to share with you guys today, is just the fact that, it's amazing that we can break down these data points, we can map out these cycles, and we can see that in these cycles, we're pretty much behaving exactly onto my trading plan that I've had since 2019, and I'm going to continue to hold that bias, continue to hold through here, because what we have here, guys, is the next half of the cycle that is where we make all of the profit. So we need to be aware of that. Now, one final thing here. Let's talk about the Bitcoin dominance quickly. We can see that we are still getting a nice buyback ensuing. I still think that we're going to have a little bit more upside potential before ultimately we stop out and go lower here. So I am expecting a little bit more upside from Bitcoin. Really, I think that we're going to head upwards to about here at about 63.74% dominance. I think we're going to rally upwards to this resistance before we top out. And so it's looking like Bitcoin's got a little bit more dominance, and it's going to assert more strength on the market. And so be aware of that. If your altcoins are getting outperformed by Bitcoin, expect that number to continue to rise, but understand that Bitcoin dominance is heading right at major resistance. And so this is going to sell off again. And when this thing sells off, that's the alt season that we're going to be expecting. And this is going to be a big alt season. Tons of altcoins are going to go crazy, and we have a real opportunity of capturing a large amount of value by investing into these altcoins, as Bitcoin's heading upwards of resistance. And so I'm going to be looking to take some of my Bitcoin profits that I've made from just holding Bitcoin. I'm going to be looking to diversify those into some altcoins, because that at that point is going to be the risk on play, is to be holding Bitcoin because it's at resistance before, ultimately the altcoins start to rally up. And so that's the most important thing to understand here, is just the fact that we've got a lot of resistance standing in our way. I expect that this is going to top out, and then that's when we're going to see a lot of value flood into our altcoin positions. And so be aware of that. Now, one final thing, guys, is let's take a look at the altcoin total market cap. Let's go over some big things here. Now, we're getting a little bit of a pullback here. Nothing too crazy. Overall, I expect that this is just a short-term correction before we ultimately go much higher. And so all the dips that you guys see today are buy the dip opportunities. If you missed out on buying over the last couple weeks, these times where the market is kind of dipping a few percent in those days, that's the time where you really want to be averaging into those positions, because when we look at this and we zoom out, we can see that this thing looks very, very solid from a long-term perspective. What I see here, for me personally, is just that we've basically held this entire support level and we flipped it. This once was resistance for a while, became resistance since all the way back in August of 2018, so over 2 years worth of resistance that we've had here, and we just flipped this. And so this is now acting as support. This is where we start to get the next major impulses heading into this next move, and that's really what I'm going to be watching out for as follows, guys. I think that this is the part where we really start to go parabolic. I expect that this next move inside of Bitcoin is going to look something like this. Big, quick impulse. It's going to take us upwards of about, this is the total altcoin market cap, so this will be about $300 billion. And from here, guys, we could even overextend higher than that before falling back down and then keep going higher in that cycle. And so this is really the thing that I'm personally watching out for. If we flip a 700-day range, it's not just going to produce a tiny little pump and then it's going to sell off and go sideways for years and years again. This is the part where we've already started breaking out and making higher highs. And so this is the part where we're really going to start to lead and get a lot of price expansion inside of these altcoins. And so I wanted to give you guys some analysis today. Wanted to share with you guys all of my thoughts and perspectives with Bitcoin, why the Bitcoin cycles are lining up to the end of 2021. The Bitcoin dominance is about to be topping out, and that's going to be a time where we see a lot of value coming back into the altcoins. And with the altcoin total market cap chart showing that, it's very obvious that the next leg up is going to be a big one, because we just flipped a 700-day range. And so we need to be prepared for that. We need to be ready for that. and we need to be ready to capture all of this fun, exciting times that we have inside of these markets, most importantly, because this is where we're about to make the financial fortune for ourselves. And I'm so excited to have you guys here. I'm so excited and thankful for all of the support that you guys give me every single day. It means the world to me that I'm able to do what I love every single day. I'm able to analyze these charts, and I'm able to help you guys stay informed, which is why, to cut things off, I wanted to make a couple minutes to explain how you guys can actually sign up for my video course in Signals, because I ultimately believe that this is going to be a way for you guys to make a ton of money over this next cycle. By signing up for my Signals, that's the bread and butter here. By joining any of my VIP content, I always recommend going with the Signals first, because this is the way that you're going to be able to copy my entire portfolio. You're going to be able to see all the trades that I take. You're going to be able to know exactly what I'm doing with my money, when I'm doing it, and at what price I'm doing it. So you guys are going to know my entries, my exits, my stop losses. You're going to know exactly how much I'm investing into each coin, because you're getting access to my long-term portfolio. And you guys are also getting access to private VIP videos that I only post for members inside of my Signals. So if you guys want access to that, I always recommend checking that out, going with the Signals first and foremost. You guys can also pick up my video course, which is 20 educational videos that are going to teach you guys all of my strategies for profiting. If you guys can only pick one, I always recommend going with the Signals, because ultimately you guys can copy along with every trade that I take. You can follow my long-term portfolio, and then you can make the profit with me, because I'm in here talking to a ton of good people, a ton of awesome influencers inside of the space that are giving me insider information to a lot of coins. I'm a part of a lot of newsletters for different coins, and because of that, I get a lot of information from them. And so ultimately, guys, if you want access to all of the best coins at the rock bottom discount prices, sign up for the Signals, because I have those on lock. I'm always posting those inside of the Discord, and that's how you guys are going to get access to that. So make sure you guys click inside the description to find the links to sign up for that. You guys can find the links for my video course or Signals. You guys can purchase them together or separate if you want. One final thing, guys, is if you don't want to purchase any of my VIP stuff, make sure you download my free ebook. That is going to be the thing that's going to help you guys learn a lot about the markets. It's going to really give you guys a sound investment guide to help understand the ins and outs of trading and investing. It's going to teach you guys kind of the ins and outs to my personal trading plan, and it's going to show you guys some of the stuff that I wish I would have learned in the last cycle that I'm going to be able to teach you guys inside of this ebook. So it's 38 pages long. There's a ton of terminology to go through and learn. On top of that, I have a 10-part quiz so you guys can go learn all the information and then quiz yourself on the knowledge learned so you guys retain all of that information. So if this is interesting to you guys, links are provided for you in the description. Sign up for the VIP course, download my ebook, and with all that being said, guys, I'll catch you in the next video. As always, peace out.